Hello, and thanks for joining us today for our Hidden History Hispanic Heritage Special. I'm Tim Seaman.
And I'm Sophie Erber. We're sharing the stories of the people from the Hispanic community,
including one of the more influential Siouxland entrepreneurs of the last 50 years.
KCAU 9's Dylan Adams shares Tony Gomez's inspiring story of perseverance and dedication.
He's been called the backbone of the Latino community in Siouxland by none other than Eldon Roth, owner of Empirical. He's Tony Gomez, an entrepreneur, an elected public official, and founder of Gomez Palettes, who has stapled his legacy into Siouxland's rich Hispanic culture. Tony Gomez first came to America as a first-generation immigrant from Mexico back in 1965. He's been in Siouxland since 1970 and has witnessed the growth in the Hispanic community for more than 50 years. He started out as an employee at the old IBP packing house, when he came up with an idea that would change his life.
Thanks to God and thanks to my courage to become an entrepreneur, and had an idea to repair pallets. Back in the days when I started, nobody repaired any pallet. They throw them at the landfill.
Gomez said his business started small.
I started my business in my garage. That's how I started the business, in my garage. I was there for 1 year. Can I have a better neighbors, than they never complain about it, tell you.
But soon he had to expand his business and move to a location west of Jackson, Nebraska in 1989, where his company thrived. But then tragedy struck in 2013 when a fire destroyed his entire warehouse.
In reality, on top of the insurance that you have, you always never recuperate what you lose, so it's devastated, it's really sad.
Luckily, Tony was able to rebuild and use the opportunity to expand his facility with upgraded technology and more space.
A little bit of luck, because you got to have both. You got to be ambitious, you got to be ready to go for it, but you got to have a better, a good luck on your side, because, one thing can go wrong, everything can go down to nothing.
While growing Gomez Pallets into Siouxland's largest pallet supplier, Tony also made time for public service. He was named to the Mexican-American Commission of Nebraska in 1981. Gomez says his work in government has always been about service.
When somebody elects you for any office, I don't care if it's school, city, state, county, you're there to serve, not to be served.
Gomez has been elected to several boards and part of numerous organizations, serving as a voice for not just the Hispanic community, but for all of Siouxland.
Never forget where you came from. Your culture. I think we got a rich culture in Mexico and a lot of things that we can share with the community here.
Gomez, at age 76, is now retired. His two sons, Sal and Sam, now run their father's company. Tony says there were a number of ingredients to his success.
A lot of work and a lot of effort, and a lot of sacrifice. There's three things it takes, sacrifice in terms of I was not able to enjoy my family or my kids because I was so dedicated and build something for them.
At the end of the day, Gomez says he lives with no regrets.
There's people that ask me, Tony, if you're reborn again, what do you do differently that you do in your life? Is nothing. I do the same thing over again, because I enjoy it.
Tony is in the process of finishing his book, highlighting how he rose to prominence through difficult challenges. Other than that, he loves spending time with his wife and his horses, and wants to continue to be an inspiration for the Hispanic community in Siouxland. For Hispanic Heritage, Dylan Adams, KCAU-9 News.
One of the best ways to share your culture is, of course, through food, and there's no shortage of tasty dishes from Hispanic culture.
KCAU-9 reporter Lydia Vasquez explaining how pan dulce, or sweetbread, is made and how it's shared.
It's a delicacy in the Hispanic culture because it does more than keep someone fed. It's a sweet treat that sparks conversation and honors core cultural values like food and togetherness. Pan dulce, or sweetbread, is a popular pastry in Mexico and in the Hispanic culture.
Mexico doesn't always have the resources to, or the money to buy good food sometimes, so bread is just, another alternative, is cheaper as well.
The bread comes in many different sizes.
A very common bread that Mexican people like is, they're called conchas. It's sweet bread. It's made out of white flour. Typically from the time they mix the ingredients to the time they bake it takes from 5 to 6 hours.
The crusted conchas are breaded in every color, like chocolate or strawberry. Letting the bread rise typically takes the longest. Pop it in the oven, and about 20 minutes it's fully baked.
In the Hispanic culture, the pan dulce is, well, since I remember, it's been a tradition forever. It's basically a staple in Hispanic culture.
A staple that does more than please one's taste buds.
Eating pan dulce is not just a way of feeding yourself and eating a sweet piece of bread. It's a way to bond with others as well.
And there's plenty of options to keep belly satisfied.
Most popular, I'd say, in the bakery would be the regular cookies, which would be the ones with M&Ms on top or the ones with sprinkles. Usually a lot of kids prefer that over any bread.
Pan dulce is a delicacy that's meant to be shared in groups.
Pan dulce is mostly shared at home, at the table, usually with family, talking with each other, sharing about their day. At parties as well, it's a tradition to bring pan dulce, especially during the fiestas. That's what they call them back in Mexico, the fiestas. It's common to bring pan dulce and share with your loved ones and friends.
Brian Tapia says pan dulce is popular among other ethnicities too.
It's not just Hispanics that are buying pan dulce now, different types of races as well, for different types of purposes.
Tapia is the fourth generation in his family to carry on the panderia or bakery business.
In Mexico, for a lot of people that have bakeries, it's more of an economic driver. Over there is basically their whole life. It's a way of feeding themselves.
His family's business, Panderia San Miguel in South Sioux City, has served the Siouxland community for 10 years. And like in many households, pan dulce is most wanted around the holidays.
People eat it usually in the morning with coffee or at night with milk. Mostly during the holidays is when you see it most commonly.
Tapia says he's forever grateful for what his family was able to create, all thanks to the simple sweet treat.
I'm very grateful for them. They provided a life for us that we might have not been able to live in Mexico out of pan dulce.
Tapia's fondest memories include his mom coming home with pan dulce and running to the table to grab his favorite. He hopes the tradition that comes along with pan dulce continues for generations to come. For Hispanic Heritage, Lydia Vasquez, KCAU 9 News.
Well, we hope that last story didn't make you too hungry. It had that effect on me, but there is more Hispanic heritage still to come.
Including a traditional dance group that's bringing its music and moves to Siouxland. That's coming up. But first, we share how Sioux City is inspiring artists to share their culture through their work. That's next. People make art for many different reasons, and some folks are using art to brighten up our city.
KCAU 9's Nick Wilson tells us how Sioux City has inspired some local artists to share their culture and heritage with the entire community.
When Itzel Chavez got the chance to paint a mural in downtown Sioux City last year, she jumped at it.
I have always wanted to add a little bit of color into my city. Like, that was my goal. So when I heard about the Alley Art Festival, I saw that as an opportunity to finally do that.
This year, Chavez is planning a mural in tribute to a late friend. She hopes her art will inspire other Siouxland Hispanics to share their stories.
And hopefully that encourages other Hispanics to also do what they're good at, follow their dreams, and just make it happen.
Artist Tanya Gallegos Espinoza has lived in Siouxland for more than 30 years. She says the growth of Siouxland's Hispanic community inspires her.
When we first got here in '91 from California, there wasn't a lot of Hispanic families, and like through the time it started growing, it started becoming bigger, and as it started getting bigger, I started getting bolder with my art, and that's kind of what really helped influence it, and it's just become a beautiful community.
Espinoza says her Hispanic culture plays an important role in her life and in her art.
I've always been raised by strong Hispanic women, and as we know, we never know when our last day is going to be, so we always try to remember it the best we can, and the way I interpret it is like through art. I try to paint something beautiful that they can be remembered.
Espinoza and Chavez encourage others in the Hispanic community to share their culture and talents with the rest of Sioux City. For Hispanic Heritage, Nick Wilson, KCAU-9 News.
There is so much more to the beautiful outfits that you are about to see.
Each one portrays a beautiful performance of folkloria. KCAU-9 reporter Mallory Smith shares what this traditional dance means to the young people who perform it.
Estrellas del Jalisco is a folklorico dance team based in South Sioux City. Their dancing is an important part of their Hispanic roots and culture, and a fundamental part of who they are.
It's a great way to express and see that we are a very prideful country, and we love to show what we do.
It started off as a couple, just her and her daughter and her son, I think. And then, well, it just ended off from there.
Today, the group is 45 dancers strong and includes people of all ages.
9.
I'm 17. I'm 16.
The group's directors also design and make the traditional dresses.
Are handmade by our maestra Rosy Loza.
Each state in Mexico has its own dance. Estrellas de Jalisco performs them all.
Chihuahua, Veracruz, Chiapas, Jalisco, which is the one that is most known because of the big hats and the big dresses for the girls.
Members agree folklorico dance offers so much more than a performance.
It's really good for the brain. It's for mental health. It's really fun, and for physical too, because you're jumping around a lot.
It's part of what I do and what I love.
I love dancing. It just brings a lot of joy to myself.
Folklorico is an art form that has spanned generations and will continue to do so for generations to come.
I enjoyed it, and I think my future kids will also enjoy doing dance.
For Hispanic Heritage, Mallory Smith, KCAU-9 News.
Beautiful for sure. Traditions seldom change from generation to generation, helping history be preserved in the rituals and the practices.
But there are those who are trying to modernize cultural traditions in order to keep them alive for future generations. How one group of women are bringing modern ideas to the traditional music of mariachi coming up. But first, while art and music are important to many cultures, so too is sports. We share what soccer means to our local Hispanic community coming up next. For many people in the Hispanic community, soccer is much more than just a game.
KCAU-9 reporter Jason Toctasian explores the cultural significance and impact that soccer has on the Hispanic community.
In the U.S., it's called soccer, but around the world, it's known as football. Many Hispanics, like Eric Galvin, are introduced to the game early in life.
I started playing soccer, I want to say, at about the age of 5. My dad introduced me. It was a lot of just seeing him play that got me into it.
I actually lived in Mexico a little bit growing up. I moved here about in the 1st grade, and I remember my farthest back memories from soccer were playing in kindergarten. I would play in recess and whatnot. You know, all the kids would play and just kind of wanted to fit in.
The sport finds a way to remain an integral part of life even after childhood. For Galvin, he transitioned from playing soccer in high school and college to now being the head coach for South Sioux City High School, the same team he used to play for.
Soccer right now, I would call it a lifestyle. Because a lot of these kids, they love it. They want to come play, whether we want to come doing sprints, but get better at the sport. I think it becomes a lifestyle, and it's what they want to do. They want to be here.
Juvenal Ramirez credits soccer with helping him adjust to life in a new country and more.
Growing up here as a Hispanic, I mean, Gangs were a big thing growing up in the early 2000s, so it was just a way for us to kind of keep out of trouble too.
He says the game and his teammates also helped him fine-tune his English.
I'm a firm believer that people learn better when they're put in situations where you kind of have to learn the language. So it was a way for me to kind of force myself to communicate with them as well, because I was taking these ESL classes where I got all these kids with me, but all they speak is Spanish too, so I'm not really obligated to put myself into practice, and use my English skills.
As Ramirez continued to establish himself in the United States, he recalls meeting immigrants at soccer fields and helping them in their journey for a better life.
Their story kind of goes something like, hey, I just got here from Mexico, Guatemala, or just any Hispanic country. What's there to do, We become friends, we kind of help them get in the groove of things. So now coming from a different country, it takes adapting, Maybe they're looking for a job. Well, hey, I know this place is hiring, it's a great way to work. It's a good place to work. Maybe they're looking for some place to rent. It just brings people together.
The progress made to make the sport readily accessible in Siouxland is worth noting.
Growing up, man, there wasn't that many opportunities for us. Like, these soccer fields are nice, but they're relatively new. They haven't always been around. Now we have, I believe, one soccer club for like all the tri-state area, so I think that was huge too. It's just getting so much more people involved.
I think for us right now, for the 2009 boys, when we go out to games, the parents are always there. It's joy looking at the sidelines and seeing all the parents come out and support them.
For many Hispanics, weekends are devoted to soccer, and whether it's a standard Sunday league game or a crucial playoff fixture, the sport finds a way to band people together.
There's always taco trucks. They always got the ice cream, the paletero, which is the ice cream man with the little cart and whatnot. It's great. You got people bumping music. Most of these guys, I think, out of starting 11, a good 5 of them actually played on my soccer team growing up. So, it's just great. You make lifelong friends too.
And Ramirez says soccer serves as a bridge for Hispanics like himself to stay connected to home.
I'm Mexican. That's where I came from, and I'm proud of it. You know what I mean? So this is something that I did in my homeland, and it builds a sense of pride almost that you wanna do good.
For Hispanic Heritage, Jason Toktagian, KCAU-9 News.
And perhaps the best known genre of Hispanic music is mariachi, but one group is working to modernize this type of traditional music.
Why the band is causing such a stir in Chicago, coming up next. We wrap up our Hispanic Heritage Special by introducing you to a group of women shaking up traditional Mexican music.
They call themselves Mariachi Sirenas, and as Lourdes Duarte shows us, they are inspiring a new generation of Latinas.
Do the first measure.
It takes practice and a lot of heart to make the kind of music that has elevated all 11 of these women to become one of the most sought-after mariachi bands in the Midwest.
I remember having this idea, I think I was like around 17.
But it wasn't until 3 years ago that Yvette Herrera helped launch Mariachi Sirenas. If you're wondering what that means, Sirenas means mermaids. But no matter what language you speak, they've made a splash on a traditionally male-dominated industry.
Half of the girls have full-time jobs, and then the other half are in college, and I have one high schooler.
So between sneakers and book bags, every week is packed with gigs.
And if we're lucky, we get Mondays off.
But it hasn't been easy. They had to first win the support of their peers.
I would get a lot of, but you guys are just women. Why are you guys charging that much?
And then the public, who was used to the deeper tones of all male mariachi performers.
Now it's more of, oh, you guys are actually busy. That's interesting to know that you guys actually have work.
And while they're the only all-female mariachi group in Chicago, women have contributed to this style of music for generations.
There have been female mariacheras. There have been female mariachi groups. A female mariachi group actually went to Vietnam to play for the troops in the USO show.
A lot has changed since then.
Just like our trajes in itself, it's not the original cut that's just a straight skirt cut. We have more of a mermaid skirt. Do your hair however you're feeling. If you want to have it up, have it up. If you want to have it down, have it down. Just make sure it's you. We want to make sure that we feel comfortable with ourselves while we're performing and not just putting on a literal mask to fit this idea of what traditional mariachi women should look like.
Las Sirenas have for the most part stuck to tradition, keeping music lyrics with just slight adjustments to the sound.
It's hard, especially for the trumpets, because their range, they can only go so high. And once you switch it to a female key, it's kind of rearranging their instrumentations, their adornos there. Yeah, that's fun though.
Yes, mermaids are known for pushing the envelope a bit. Legend has it they sometimes lure sailors to danger. But in this case, Las Sirenas' main goal is to sing at one of Chicago's most iconic landmarks.
We want to perform in Millennium Park. Yeah, it's our goal.
Stay with us.
That's right. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us for our Hidden History Hispanic Heritage.
And if you'd like to watch any of the stories featured in this special, we have them all on our website right now. That's SiouxlandProud.com.
Have a great day.